Discover how a touching encounter revealed a billionaire's life-changing connection to a little community. The leaves crunched beneath Bill's feet as he walked into the community center, the crisp autumn air brisk against his worn denim jacket. Today felt different. There was something electric in the atmosphere. Maybe it was the anticipation of the after-school kids he loved to help, or perhaps it was the weight of his daily struggles, bills piling high like an unscalable mountain. A dad and an army vet, he was just trying to keep his head above water for Emma and Luke. But then, like an actor entering on cue, Jake appeared, the billionaire in a perfectly tailored suit, so polished you could see your reflection in it. He was out of place, a glaring contrast to the vibrant chaos of Maplewood. Their eyes met, and Bill's heart raced, not just from the stranger's aura of sudden wealth, but from an unexpected flicker of connection. "Hey there," Jake said, his voice smooth like silk. "Here for the after-school activities?" Bill nodded, his chest tightening. "Yeah, I help out. Kids need guidance." In that moment, standing amid fall's colors, two different worlds clashed. Bill was a man who'd sacrificed everything for family, while Jake had spent years acquiring riches, yet found himself lonely. Their conversation was brief, but it felt monumental, a spark in the autumn breeze. As they began to collide paths more regularly, a foundation of friendship started to build. Jake was searching for meaning, trying to blend his life story with the simplicity of community ties. Bill, despite his exhaustion from juggling jobs and parenting, threw himself into making the community center a haven for local kids. He was in a constant battle against a sea of bills, but he still smiled through it all, determined to instill the values of hard work in his children. But the tranquility shattered one day when rumors spread like wildfire. Jake wanted to demolish the very community center Bill cherished for profit. The whispers of outrage from the townsfolk echoed around him. They couldn't possibly understand Jake's intentions, but they were prepared for a fight. Bill felt his blood boil. "Hold on a minute!" he yelled, confronting Jake at the center later that week, a crowd forming behind him. "You can't just come in here and uproot everything we've built." Jake stood firm, panic flashing in his sharp eyes. "I'm trying to help the community grow." Bill felt a tight knot forming in his chest. "Growth doesn't mean tearing down what we have. You don't know our struggles, what we fight for every day." The moment ignited with tension. The world they stood in felt small, marking a boundary between them. The onlookers felt their disbelief burn hot, waiting for resolution. Each man stared into the other's soul, a mirror reflecting the chasm that lay between them. A rivalry could fester, ruining any hope of understanding. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. He could feel the weight of his neighbors surrounding him, hearts beating as one against this looming threat. And yet, in that heated moment, something in Jake's expression shifted. Vulnerability flashed through. A child from the back suddenly cried out, "But we need this place!" Their words pierced the air like a nail, reminding everyone of what truly mattered. Bill looked at Jake, his heart racing. Could a billionaire, so different from him, truly understand? Would they fight, or come together for the community's sake? As the crowd held its breath, Bill knew this could either be the beginning or the end of something transformative. Bill took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on his shoulders. He steadied himself, looking at the children who had come to treat the community center like their second home. Emma and Luke were in the front, their eyes wide with apprehension, reflecting the anxiety of everyone around them. "Jake," Bill said, his voice calmer now, the fire of anger simmering down. "This place isn't just bricks and wood. It's a sanctuary. It's where kids find hope, where families come together. If you have plans for this land, let's talk about it. Jake's gaze flickered to the kids, and for the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. I didn't mean to, he started, his voice trailing off as he watched the little ones silently pleading for their haven. Listen, maybe you don't understand what this place means, but I know it's got heart. It's the laughter, the mentorship, the community resilience you can't buy with money. This is more than a project for profit. This is life for us. The silence deepened, thicker than the autumn air. A flicker of realization passed through Jake's eyes, but he seemed at a loss for words. His life of privilege had shielded him from understanding just how intertwined lives could be in shared spaces. Maybe, he hesitated, glancing at the kids, what if I helped renovate it instead? Make it a better place, but without losing what makes it special? A murmur rippled through the crowd. Bill felt his heart clench and release at the same time. Was there a way to bridge their worlds? The idea felt tentative, yet exciting. What do you mean? He asked cautiously, still wary of the billionaire's true intentions. But it's clear to me now that we need to get the community involved in these plans. Maybe even include them in the designing, Jake suggested, his voice growing a little stronger as he spoke. The air was thick with cautious hope. Bill exchanged glances with Emma and Luke. They were unsure, but intrigued, caught between the fear of loss and the glimmer of expansion. If we can get the kids and parents involved, then maybe, Bill said, feeling the warmth of possibility begin to stir in his heart. But we have to make sure it retains its soul. Absolutely, Jake replied. Let's start fresh. I want to hear from every parent, every child who steps through these doors. But just as tension began to ease, an older woman from the back shouted, "And what happens if you change your mind? How can you guarantee our future?" Jake met her fierce gaze with determination. "I promise to be transparent. I'll put everything in writing." A sudden chill swept through the crowd at his words. While Bill could feel the pulse of hope begin to grow, a thought nagged at him. Would Jake actually follow through? And what if he didn't? Could they risk trusting him? As the weight of uncertainty lingered in the air, several townsfolk started murmuring, glancing at each other with a mix of skepticism and guarded optimism. Bill notes the fight inside him flaring up again. "We need to hold you accountable. Every one of us deserves a stake in this." Jake nodded fervently. I'd expect nothing less. In that moment, an unspoken agreement started to weave between them, a fragile connection ready to evolve. It felt like the dawn of a new chapter, not just for the community center, but for all of Maplewood. As Bill thought about the workshops, the sports leagues, the tutoring sessions they could create together, he felt a rush of determination. But questions remained. Questions about Jake and his authenticity. Would this really bridge their two worlds, or would it be built on shifting sands? Just as the crowd seemed to settle, a child called out again. "Can you make sure we still have our playground, Jake?" Bill's heart sank. Playground. That innocent word stirred memories of laughter, children swinging and climbing. The fear of losing it all gripped him. They had to fight together. "Let's gather everyone's ideas," Bill said firmly. "We can't lose sight of what makes us, us." As the crowd buzzed with nervous energy, Bill and Jake stood side by side, two forces still teetering on the edge of possibility or on the brink of failure. Would this fragile bridge hold under pressure, or would it come crashing down? And as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the community center, a new challenge loomed on the horizon. The fight for trust had just begun. What would it take for the town to believe in a billionaire's redemption? As twilight settled over Maplewood, the air hummed with a tension that felt electric. Families, friends, and neighbors whispered amongst themselves, their excitement mixed with worry. Bill glanced around the crowd, his heart racing. He felt the weight of their hopes on his shoulders, not just for the center, but for each child gathered before him, Emma, Luke, and all their friends. "All right, everyone," Bill said, raising his hands to quiet the crowd. Let's do this together. A brainstorming session to ensure our ideas are heard. What do you think we need to keep this place alive? Hands shot up, voices chimed in, each child more enthusiastic than the last. "More games!" shouted Emma, her face lit up with a light that made Bill smile. "And art classes," Luke added, bouncing on his toes. Underneath the shouts of suggestions, Bill noticed Jake listening intently. The billionaire was no longer the distant figure. He was present, genuinely involved in their world. Bill took a breath, cautiously optimistic about this unusual partnership. "Okay, Jake," Bill said, keeping his tone steady. "Do you have any ideas you can share?" Jake hesitated, running his hair through his head, as if searching for the right words. "I guess it's about what's not just functional, but fun. A place where kids can explore, imagine, and be kids." He paused, thoughtful. "I could hire some artists. They could help plan murals and sculptures, something that feels vibrant and alive." "Can you create an outdoor movie space?" a little voice piped up from the back. The crowd erupted into laughter, the tension lightening just a bit. "Absolutely," Jake replied, smiling now, a genuine smile that transformed his whole demeanor. "How about we hold a film festival out here?" "Yeah!" the crowd cheered, a wave of excitement rolling through them. Bill couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope igniting within him. Could this actually work? Again, the children started calling out ideas. Some wanted a dedicated reading nook with comfy chairs, while others dreamed of a community garden. As they shared their wishes, Jake quickly scribbled notes, nodding, trying to absorb it all. But in the back, the skepticism still lingered. "What about funding?" questioned another community member, arms crossed defiantly. "You said you'd put everything in writing. Words mean nothing unless you follow through." The tension thickened once again, and Bill sensed the old guard of distrust pushing its way back in. It reminded him that the road to redemption was riddled with challenges that veered into darkness. "No one said change would come easy," Jake replied firmly, "but I'm ready to work side by side with all of you. Let's not just talk. I want us all to make this a living and breathing project together." As Jake spoke, Bill caught a glimpse of the man beneath the money. In that moment, he felt the ember of connection spark between them. If they could truly collaborate, perhaps trust could be built. "Let's put ourselves to the test, then," Bill declared, a wild idea bursting forth. "Jake, let's host a community day. We can mobilize everyone, see what needs to be done, and you can prove just how committed you are." A ripple went through the crowd. Eyes widened and murmurs of approval surged. This could be a turning point, an event that could rally the town. Jake's eyes lit with determination. "Count me in. Let's set a date and get the ball rolling." As Bill watched the interaction, he felt his chest swell. But just as he thought hope was blossoming, a shadow loomed in his mind, casting doubt. Would they really trust Jake and his words? Suddenly, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting the community center in shadows. An uncertain hush settled in like a fog. Bill took a deep breath and made eye contact with Jake. "This is just the start, but remember, Jake, the actions that follow your words will shape everything." The challenge hung in the air, a palpable tension of what was yet to come. How would the town react when faced with true vulnerability? Would they embrace the unpredictability that trust demanded? There was a distinct shift, an unveiling of the battle ahead. And as the last remnants of daylight faded, a new question loomed larger than before. Could the journey lead to redemption and healing for Jake and the entire town? As the night settled deep over Maplewood, the flickering glow from the community center cast long shadows, transforming the mundane into something almost magical. Bill could sense the weight of the moment. This could be the turning point he longed for, or just another missed opportunity. He glanced at Jake, who was still scribbling notes, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow. "Community Day," Bill murmured, almost to himself. "If we can pull this off, maybe we will bridge this gap." Someone in the crowd cleared their throat, drawing attention once again. It was Mrs. Patterson, the town's unofficial historian, and a woman whose voice always carried authority. "And what exactly will happen on Community Day?" she demanded, her skepticism slicing through the excitement. "Will it just be idle talk or real commits? We've seen too many empty promises." Bill shared a quick look with Jake. The challenge was clear. "We will gather ideas, paint murals, plant a garden, whatever it takes to bring everyone together, but most importantly, it'll be about action. It's about changing the air we breathe in Maplewood." Encouragement bobbed around the crowd, yet the shadow of doubt didn't fully lift. Jake stood up, visibly determined. "What if I personally match donations or offer something in return for every volunteer? It'll be my way of showing that I'm serious." A ripple of chatter surged through the audience. Kids started whispering excitedly about what they could help with, while adults glanced at each other, wary but intrigued. "Okay," came a voice from the back, strong yet cautious.
It was Jim, the town mechanic, whose hard life had instilled him with both grit and wisdom. "We'll give you a chance, but understand our trust isn't freely given. You'll earn it. Actions speak louder than words." "Absolutely, Jim," Jake replied, his expression sincere. "I wouldn't want it any other way." As the conversation shifted back to ideas, Bill felt something click into place. This was what they needed, an opportunity to unite a community that had been fractured for too long. And it would start right here, right now. Plans began to unfold around him. Ideas whirled. Someone suggested having a bake sale to fund the new projects, while another proposed a friendly sports tournament. Emma and Luke were buzzing with excitement, imagining the possibilities like stars igniting in the night sky. Just as things began to gain momentum, Bill noticed a little boy standing alone at the edge of the crowd. Jimmy, shy and often overlooked, looked both eager and terrified to speak. He caught Bill's eye, and the energy shifted in response. "Jimmy, what do you think we should do?" Bill asked gently, seeking to include him in the discussion. With a nervous glance, Jimmy stepped forward. "Maybe we can have a place for kids to be friends and help each other, like a buddy system." The crowd fell silent for a moment. Then a wave of murmurs surged, warmth filling the air. Jake's smile widened and he leaned in, his interest piqued. "That's a brilliant idea. We can bring people together in a way that lasts, not just for one day." Tears pricked at the corners of Bill's eyes, but he blinked them away. The town was alive with hope, sparking new ideas and connections like never before. Yet, in the midst of this unfolding magic, he felt a twinge of concern. Would they be able to hold on to the momentum? "Let's keep the spirit of Community Day alive in our hearts as we plan, but we must also prepare for setbacks. It won't be easy." "Nothing worth having ever is," Jake added, determination in his eyes. A soft breeze whispered through the gathering, wrapping around them like a promise. They were all in this together, strangers no more. Just then, a rustle in the back caught Bill's attention. A figure loomed larger than the rest. He hadn't noticed them before, but the faint outline of Tom, the town's recluse and self-assigned guardian of its secrets, appeared, blocking the fading light with his imposing presence. "What do you think you're doing, bringing all this attention to the center?" Tom's voice rumbled, cutting through the budding excitement. Bill felt the collective breath of the crowd hitch in uncertainty. Who would stand against hope? Who was ready to face the darkness still encroaching on their dreams? And so the afternoon faded into the dark, the community's excitement hanging precariously as they stared into the unknown. Would they rise above the doubts and fears that had always held them back? Tom's presence loomed over the crowd, his heavy gaze weighing down the hopeful atmosphere. Bill could feel the tension wrapping tighter around them like a noose. He stepped forward, grounding himself as he met Tom's steady, unyielding stare. "Tom," he began, a steady but inviting tone in his voice. "We're trying to create something positive here. Just give us a chance." The community held its breath. No one dared to speak, their eyes bouncing between Bill and Tom, unsure of what might happen next.
Bill's heart raced. This was a defining moment for Maplewood, and it could all slip away in an instant if Tom didn't relent. "I've seen enough before," Tom said, his voice gravelly with age and experience. "Every year there's talk of change, but it fizzles out, and what's left, just memories of the good intentions that never came to be." "Memories can be changed," Jake chimed in, stepping beside Bill. "What if we make real commitments? We're not just asking for trust, we're ready to earn it, starting now." The crowd buzzed with murmurs of support, the energy shifting slightly. They began to stand taller under the weight of Tom's skepticism, fueled by their shared desire for change. Yet Tom's frown deepened, his eyes narrowing. "I don't want to see this as just another fleeting gathering," he warned, his voice a deep rumble. "Will you stand firm when things get tough? Will you still be here when the excitement dies down?" Bill took a breath, his heart pounding like a drum. "If we fall, we'll rise again. It's not just about one person or one day. It's about a future that we build together. It's about being a community." For the first time, Tom's expression flickered. A glimmer of something softened his steely facade. Was it curiosity, perhaps? "All right, I'll give you a chance," Tom said reluctantly, but Bill sensed the slight shift. "But understand this, I'll be watching. I don't want the memories of my town to just be a string of failures." The crowd sighed, relief washing over them like a gentle tide. The storm might have subsided, but it wasn't over yet. They would have to confront their own doubts and fears, and it would take every ounce of determination to keep moving forward. As conversations resumed, ideas bounced back and forth, and excitement rekindled in the gathering. Bill could feel a spark of hope igniting again, but in the pit of his stomach lingered the question, would they rise to the challenge when the shadows returned? "Hey!" Luke shouted, his enthusiasm infectious. "Let's make a list of everyone's talents. We can divide tasks." They laughed and began to brainstorm, fueling the flicker of hope into a roaring flame. But as they dove into plans, Bill found himself glancing at Tom, who silently observed. Moments later, Jimmy approached Bill again. "Mr. Bill, what if we got everyone from the neighborhood involved, even those who don't come to the center?"
"Exactly, Jimmy. Everyone matters," Bill exclaimed, his heart swelling with pride. "You hit the nail on the head. We need to reach out to every corner of Maplewood." That evening, as they wrapped up the meeting and the crowd dispersed, Bill couldn't shake a feeling deep inside him. What was stirring in the shadows of Maplewood? What fears awaited them? The night deepened, a blanket of darkness wrapped around their tiny town. Bill's thoughts spiraled. If people like Tom were the guardians of their secrets, then what other mysteries lay hidden? Just then he met Jake's gaze, a question hanging unasked in the air between them. "Do you think we can do it, Bill?" he asked, a hint of uncertainty clouding his usually eager expression. Bill smiled, though uncertainty clawed at his heart. "We have to try. But what if we find something unexpected, something from Tom's past that could change everything?" With that, the night stretched on, pregnant with possibilities. Would they face the future boldly or be crushed by the weight of their history? Each step forward felt like dancing on a tightrope, exhilaration mingling with fear. As they walked out into the darkened streets, a single streetlight flickered, casting an uncertain glow. What new secrets awaited them just beyond horizon of Community Day? The first rays of dawn crept over Maplewood, gently nudging the town awake. Bill was up early, his mind racing with the excitement from last night. The beauty of a new day hung over him like a warm blanket. As he stepped outside, he inhaled deeply, the crisp morning air filling his lungs. The streets were quiet now, but soon would buzz with neighbors greeting each other, kids rushing off to school, and the familiar rhythm of life resuming. He felt a sense of urgency to build on the momentum from last night, a bright idea to spark a change in community spirit. His phone vibrated with a reminder for the day's tasks. The list ran long, gathering volunteers, collecting supplies for the upcoming Community Day, and reaching out to those who hadn't participated before.
Each name on that list weighed heavy on him as he thought about how important it was to spread the message to every corner of Maplewood. He couldn't shake the feeling that failure was not an option. After breakfast, Bill gathered his notepad, a pen, and a box of donuts from Leela's Bakery, the town's favorite spot. He hoped the sweet treats would lure in the neighbors. "Time to hit the pavement," he muttered to himself, feeling a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. He headed out, determined to knock on as many doors as necessary. His first stop was Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman known for her beautiful flower garden. He knocked softly, and after a moment, the door creaked open. Mrs. Jenkins stood there, with lines of age framing her gentle smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Jenkins," Bill greeted, holding out the box. "I brought donuts."
We're planning something special for the community, and I wanted to invite you to help us out. "Oh, you sweet boy," she exclaimed, her eyes crinkling with delight as she took a donut. "What are you planning? Is it another bake sale?" "Not exactly," Bill chuckled. "We're pushing for a day filled with activities, food stands, and a chance for everyone to contribute their talents. We need volunteers for setup." As they talked, he felt her hesitance start to fade. She was excited and engaged, desiring to feel part of something larger again. They reminisced about past neighborhood gatherings, painting vivid pictures of laughter and friendship. By the time he left, Mrs. Jenkins was beaming, ready to spread the news and get involved. Next came the Roberts family, notoriously private but talented in crafts and woodworking. Their home stood at the end of a long driveway, and after a couple of knocks, Luke Roberts finally answered. He looked gruff but curious. "Hey, Mr. Roberts, I wanted to share an idea for Community Day and see if your family would join us. You all could host a woodcraft booth." Luke rubbed his chin, interest piqued. "Woodwork, huh? Well, we've got a few pieces we've been meaning to sell. I'd have to check with the rest of the family, but it sounds promising." Bill's heart soared. Each conversation, each door opened felt like a step toward creating a more connected Maplewood. But as the afternoon wore on, a strange weight began to settle in his chest. Bill's thoughts drifted to Tom. Would the community truly rise to the occasion, or would their efforts crumble under the weight of skepticism? If they could only uncover the spark in Tom's past, the sparkling potential hidden behind his stern demeanor, what had shaped him into the man he was? As the sun began to set and shadows stretched long across the streets, Bill realized they might need to confront Tom himself, unravel the mystery of the man and the town together. The night wrapped around him, cool and still, but the thought of confronting Tom was enough to quicken his pulse. What if they could find common ground that could bridge the gap between hope and reality? He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. "Tomorrow," he whispered to the darkened streets, "we face the past for a brighter future." But as he turned to his own home, a fleeting thought darted through his mind. Was Tom truly the key to unlock their future, or would he be another roadblock in the path to change? Bill awoke the next morning with a sense of purpose threaded through his veins. The light that spilled through his window was a cheerful reminder of the day that lay ahead. The whispers of last night's determination echoed in his mind. Today, he would seek Tom out. After a quick breakfast, Bill grabbed his notebook and jotted down a few key points to discuss with Tom. He wanted to connect not just with the man's reputation, but with the person he believed might still exist beneath the layers of aloofness. This wasn't just about Community Day, it was about shifting the spirit of their town. Bill stepped outside, the weight of the day on his shoulders yet filled with a flutter of optimism. As he walked to Tom's house, he noticed neighbors tending to their gardens, kids bouncing to school, and laughter mixing with the aromas of breakfast wafting from open windows. Each friendly wave and smile fueled his resolve. Maplewood needed this boost. When he finally reached Tom's sprawling estate at the edge of town, the impressive gates loomed large, casting a shadow that felt heavier than it should. After a moment of hesitation, he pressed the intercom button. "Bill Peterson here," he announced, heart pounding in his chest. "State your business," a voice responded, uninterested. "I'd like to speak with Mr. Tom Jacobson about Community Day," Bill managed, keeping his tone steady despite the nervous energy surging within him.
Moments later, the gates creaked open, and a security guard gestured for him to enter. The sprawling yard was beautifully maintained, and for a moment Bill marveled at the privilege that seemed to define this place. But he was here for more than admiration. He was here to reach out. He walked up the stone path, his heart racing as he approached the front door. Before he could knock, it swung open. Tom stood there, tall and imposing, a frown etched onto his weathered face. The years of hard work had sculpted him into a man of authority, yet deep down, Bill sensed an undertow of vulnerability. "What do you want?" Tom asked, his voice flat, but Bill caught the flicker of curiosity hidden behind his words. "I'm here about Community Day, Tom. I believe it's about more than just a gathering. It's about healing our community, bringing us together again, and I think you might want to be a part of it," Bill replied, trying not to waver under the intensity of Tom's gaze. Tom raised an eyebrow, clearly not convinced. "And why would I care?" "Because it matters," Bill said, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. "I know you, or at least I think I do. There's a reason you chose to live here, away from the noise of the city." Tom shifted uncomfortably, but Bill pressed on. "You're in a unique position to help. I wonder if you remember what it felt like to be part of this community before everything changed, to feel like you belong." Bill watched as Tom's expression softened, if just for a moment. It was there, the flicker of his past that hinted at the man he used to be. Tom sighed deeply, and for a moment, Bill held his breath. He could almost feel the shift happening at the core of this man. But before he could react, Tom turned away, shaking his head. "I don't think you know what you're asking." "Let me show you," Bill replied, desperation creeping into his tone.
Join us. Meet the people. Share stories, even just for one day. You might find more than just a chance to give back. You might find a part of yourself you thought was lost. Silence enveloped them, heavy and palpable. Was this the moment Bill had been waiting for? Would Tom dare to take that leap towards connection, or would he retreat further into the shadows he had built around himself? Bill's hope twisted within him as he stared into Tom's eyes, searching for any trace of agreement. What lay beyond this moment could change everything. And then, just as he feared Tom would close the door completely, the man's lips twitched, revealing a thought hidden deep beneath his guarded exterior. What would he say next? Tom hesitated, the tension thickening the air around them like a spring storm brewing. Bill's heart raced, every second feeling like an hour as he waited for a crack in the stone facade that Tom had built over the years. Finally, Tom shifted his weight and let out a resigned exhale that sounded more like a release of years of burdens than mere air. "Your passion's refreshing, Bill," he replied slowly, each word seeming to cost him. "But we don't exactly share the same perspective on what it means to belong." Bill leaned in, eager to close the gap. "What if I told you that belonging isn't just about the town you live in, it's also about the people you choose to connect with?" For a moment, Tom thought Bill would just slam the door before him, retreating back into his carefully constructed silence. But then, almost against his will, Tom took a step back, gesturing for Bill to enter. "Fine. You have 5 minutes." As Bill crossed the threshold into Tom's home, he glanced around, half amazed and half intimidated by the extravagant decor. Yet this is where he needed to be. He needed Tom to feel the heartbeat of Maplewood again, to remember the joys wrapped in every scraped knee and shared laugh that echoed through the square on warm summer evenings. "What do you have in mind?" Tom asked, crossing his arms. The gesture might have been defensive, but to Bill it seemed more like curiosity peeking through a tight-lipped exterior. "I'm organizing a talent showcase and food fair, a day for the community to showcase their skills and reconnect. The kids can showcase music, crafts, and local chefs can whip up their best dishes. It's a day where everyone comes together, no barriers." Tom raised an eyebrow. "And I'm supposed to care about what some kids can do or what dishes are on a table?" Think about it. You've got resources, connections, and influence in this town. You could help bring this gathering to life, and in return, you'd be a part of something bigger, something that helps heal the fractures within our community. A flicker of interest crossed Tom's face, fading just as quickly. "Healing, you say?
How do you reckon you'll heal anything with a couple of tents and some awkward performances? It's not just about the events, Tom. It's about reminding people they're part of something unified, Bill replied, the weight of belief pushing his words with strength. You know what it was like growing up here. Do you remember the festivals and the sense of belonging there? Tom's expression turned contemplative, his brow furrowing as though wrestling with memories long buried. Bill could see it, an ember igniting in the darkness. He pressed on, finding courage in his conviction. Join us, even if it's just to show your face. You might find it's more impactful than you believe. And who knows, you might discover a sense of pride in this place you haven't felt for a long time. For a moment, silence stretched between them, the day's light fading gently outside the window. Bill held his breath, waiting for Tom's response. Would the man step forward into the light, or pull back into the shadows he had been content in for years? "Let me think about it," Tom finally said, the undercurrent of hesitation still palpable in his voice. He turned slightly, the stone wall that was his expression softening just a fraction. And for Bill, that was enough. The possibility hung in the air, a shimmer of hope amidst uncertainty. They might just be on the brink of something monumental. As Bill left Tom's home, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter. He could almost see the wheels turning in Tom's mind, a quiet revolution waiting to unfold. What if this moment ignited a spark in the community, one that brought even the most fractured pieces back together? Yet one question lingered. Would Tom wager his guarded heart for a chance at reconnection? With that thought racing through his mind, Bill stepped back into the brisk evening, unaware of how close they were to a defining moment that could reshape more than just a day in Maplewood. The next morning, sunlight pierced through the crisp Maplewood air, washing the streets with warmth. Bill felt an unusual energy bubbling inside of him as he walked to the town square. Today was going to be different. Today, he would rally the community around his vision, even if only a handful showed up. He found himself smiling at familiar faces, nodding at shop owners setting up their stalls and children racing past, their laughter echoing like music. Each greeting felt like building blocks, creating a foundation that might just hold together something they all needed. As he approached the community bulletin board, he noticed a swirl of colorful flyers taped in a chaotic yet charming manner. With a lump of determination in his throat, he taped up his own announcement. "Maplewood Talent Showcase and Food Fair. Let's celebrate our community." The colors shone brightly against the wooden surface, like an invitation to come out of the shadows. Moments later, Mary, the passionate baker from the corner cafe, joined him. "Bill, what's this about a talent showcase? I want in!" she exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Bill's heart soared. "Really? You'd want to showcase your pastries?" "Of course! I just need something to remind people of the sweetness in life." Her enthusiasm was contagious. As they began to brainstorm, others slowly drifted over, curious about the colorful flyer. Soon he was surrounded by a group that included the local band, a pair of young artists, and a few cheerful bakers. They voiced their ideas, each one building upon the last. And as they connected, Bill realized what he felt was palpable: community. Yet in the back of his mind, he knew Tom still held the key piece. Bill had sensed it deep down. Tom's presence could either quell the event or turn it into something extraordinary. As if summoned by his thoughts, Tom appeared at the edge of the square, arms tucked into the pockets of his coat and eyes guarded. Seeing him sent a small ripple of nerves through Bill. Would Tom dismiss this gathering or come forward to lend his support? "Hey, Tom!" he called, addressing the man directly. Everyone paused, glancing in Tom's direction, their excitement momentarily hanging in the air. It was like they were waiting for the rain of silence to break, hoping to sway the mysterious figure who loomed near the edge. Tom's brows furrowed, and his gaze flickered to the bulletin board, where the talent fair flyer swayed in the light breeze. "What's going on here?" he asked, though there was an underlying curiosity in his tone. Some of the gathered crowd stepped forward to share their enthusiasm, explaining their hopes for the showcase. Bill sensed an opening, a crack in Tom's stone wall. "We're trying to bring the community together, Tom," Bill said, voice firm with resolve, "to remind everyone of all the beauty that's right here in Maplewood." Tom looked from one face to another, as if weighing their earnestness against his past convictions. "And why should I care about a festival?" he asked, but even as he spoke, Bill held on to the glimmer of interest shining in Tom's eyes. Before he could respond, Mary chimed in. "Because connection heals, Tom. We all need to remember that." Bill felt the air shift. Tom took a slow breath, considering the excitement surrounding him. Bill's heart pounded in anticipation. Was Tom finally ready to step into the light, to allow himself to be part of this moment? "Maybe I can help," Tom finally admitted, the words seeming foreign, yet surprisingly liberating. "But only if there are some actual serious performances involved, not just kids with shaky voices." Bill's chest filled with a rush of hope. "That's a start! We can make this work together." As Tom stepped forward, a smile unfurling on his lips, Bill felt like the pieces were beginning to fall into place. It wouldn't just be a festival anymore. It could be a rebirth of the entire community. For the first time in a long time, Bill found himself thinking about more than just that single event. He envisioned the joy rippling through the town, recapturing what Maplewood had nearly lost. But just then, a shriek pierced the air. Something was happening over by the old fountain. Bill's heart raced again. A crowd had gathered, whispers turned into shouts. What could it be? Fear and anticipation gripped him, an unknown force pulling him through the throngs of people. He had no idea what he might discover, or how it would change everything yet again. Bill pushed his way through the crowd, his heart pounding. The atmosphere crackled with tension and curiosity. As he drew closer, he could see small figures darting around, and the mingled voices of excitement and confusion filled the air. What was happening? When he finally broke through, he was met with the sight of Emma and Luke, their faces painted with childish delight. They were coaxing a small stray dog, hesitant and trembling, from behind the fountain, as a group of kids cheered wildly. The dog was scruffy and thin, clearly abandoned, but very much alive, its wide eyes glimmering with hope as it inched closer to the children. "Look, Daddy, he's so cute!" Emma squealed, bending down to speak softly to the dog. Bill knelt beside her, his earlier worries momentarily forgotten. "He looks like he needs a friend," he said, smiling at the sight of Luke trying to coax the little pup with a leftover piece of donut. Just then, Tom stepped around the gathering, his expression shifting from skepticism to concern. Observing the interaction, he squatted beside Bill and extended his hand toward the dog, cautious yet gentle. "What do you think we should do with him?" Tom asked, his voice surprisingly softening as he looked into the dog's trusting eyes. Bill turned slightly to meet Tom's gaze, seeing a glimmer of warmth there he hadn't noticed before. "We could find him a home. This little guy deserves a chance, just like the rest of us," he replied, feeling a sudden urge to steer this moment of connection towards something meaningful. The crowd murmured in agreement, and Bill saw the perfect opportunity. "Hey everyone, what if we turned this into part of our talent showcase? We could have a Pause for a Cause section where we raise awareness for animals like him and encouraging adoptions. What do you say?" The crowd's energy shifted from apprehension to exhilaration, each friend's face lighting up with ideas. "Maybe we can give him a name," Emma exclaimed. Bill glanced at Tom, whose brow furrowed in deep thought. "We can partner with a local shelter," Tom said, slowly, but his words tentative but carrying a weight of intention. "They might assist in caring for him while we get the word out." "Yes, food, a vet check, and making sure he's healthy," Luke chimed in. The conversation started to flow more freely, and momentum was on their side. As plans morphed before their very eyes, the children danced around the puppy, laughter bouncing off the stone walls surrounding them. Bill's heart warmed at the sight. Local families began discussing how they would contribute to the event, bringing supplies or volunteering with the initiative to spread the love far beyond themselves. "Tom, this could be a bigger unified campaign for both the community and our furry friends," Bill urged, a tinge of excitement igniting within him. The Pause for a Cause section could attract attention, uniting the community. And we have the chance to coalesce around kindness. Tom nodded slowly, the spark in his eyes igniting a sense of purpose. "I think you might be onto something, Bill. Let's make this happen," he said, a note of decisiveness in his tone. The crowd erupted into applause, a surge of hope and anticipation washing over them. This was turning into something beautiful, an expression of generosity and positivity that could transform lives. Afterward, Bill felt the joy swell inside him. He could see Tom's resolve affirming, the man beginning to emerge, unearthing both memories and the joy from sharing a project that extended beyond business. As day faded into night, a radiant warmth spread through the community center, uniting everyone in shared purpose. They could turn this initiative into a festival that transcended mere entertainment. It would be a celebration of compassion, a voice for the voiceless. That week, conversations surged about the upcoming event, and everyone in Maplewood seemed eager to join. The air buzzed vibrantly as the entire town rallied around the idea of Community Day. Laughter filled the rooms where kids planned their talent acts and adults excitedly shared ideas. And as Bill tucked Emma and Luke into bed that night, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment wash over him. The puppy was nestled in a cozy box at home, eyes sparkling with life. Bill knew change wouldn't happen overnight, and challenges would surely come, but within him brewed a grounded belief that they could create a new Maplewood from the remnants of the past, one built on trust, collaboration, and the understanding that no one person could carry the load alone. "Daddy," Emma asked, her curiosity evident, "what if we don't get the community to show up?" He placed a gentle hand on her cheek, meeting her innocent gaze. "Then we'll keep trying. Change takes time, sweetheart, but we will be there for each other no matter what, and that's what makes us strong." In that moment, Bill realized the winds of change had already begun to blow through their beloved town. The echoes of laughter grew louder, the dreams taking form in the early dusk light. Tom was now not just a figure in the distance, but a partner willing to navigate this new road. As they headed toward Community Day, a familiar warmth swelled in Bill's heart. It was the hope that had nearly faded long ago, now rekindled and stronger than ever. And as twilight enveloped Maplewood, they stood on the brink of discovery. What would they uncover as they ventured deeper into this journey of connection and transformation? Would this small community prove united enough to thrive in the face of uncertainty? This was not just about a day in a park. It was about rediscovering themselves as a family and a community, a relentless spirit of renewal blossoming in the hearts of every single resident. This was just the beginning. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories about these heartfelt transformations. You know you want to be part of it. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the word. Every like truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Do you believe in the power of community? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspirational story of connection and change. Don't wait not even one more second. Our community thrives when you share.